What is going on, everybody? giofvcks, Psych Perspectives. What is going on? And I'm back with another live stream, but this is kind of a special live stream. Let me put this on a regular color. This is a special live stream, and the reason why it's a special live stream is because there's some important news, at least in my opinion. There's some important news that needs to be talked about. And anyway, that needs to be talked about and needs to be addressed because this is major. So, U.S. Senate Democrats, and as always, information is in the description box below. Links and articles are in the description box below. And I always recommend that you take the time to do your own independent investigation and research. It is highly recommended. Fact check, investigate, research, critically think, But anyways, in this video, in this live stream, I'm going to be discussing the U.S. Senate Democrats' letter that they penned to President Joe Biden urging for portions of student loans to be forgiven. And I'm also going to talk about some other things as well. But anyways, let's get into it. So here it is. Okay. I'm going to give a little gist of the letter that was penned. And then there's a link to the full letter as well in the description box below. But anyways, so, this really it's shocking. So let's talk about a few things, first of all, as we get into this. Student loan interest is set to kick back in when payments resume. Now, mind you, ever since March of 2020, and at the time, March of 2020, that was under who? President who? Who was the president in March of 2020? President Donald J. Trump and Vice President Michael Pence, okay? Under the Republicans. In March of 2020, student loans went into deferment. So no one had to pay federal. Put it like this. You could pay your loans, but there was no interest being accumulated and you didn't have to make payments because it was in deferment. Now, you could have made the free will decision to continue making payments, to continue chipping away at your debt. That was always the option. It still is the option, right? And some of us have been paying, even though it's been in deferment and we didn't have to. And because we were paying, while those of us who were paying or still are paying, even though their federal loans are in deferment, we've been paying, and we've been paying directly to the principal because there's been no interest because it's in deferment. But keep in mind, because it was in deferment, you didn't have to make payments. It was a choice, right? So you had that whole situation. And that's been in place since March of 2020, again, under Republicans, under the Republican president at the time, okay? And that was President Trump and Vice President Mike Pence. So it's been in deferment since, right? So again, but some Senate Democrats are asking President Joe Biden to waive it, all right? So let's talk about it. As millions of federal student loan borrowers are set to start repaying their student loans in roughly 2 months, right? Because by the end of January, Nelnet, Navient, all of these student loan services are going to go roll back around. And now it's demanded you have to pay. And you got interest on top of that. So anyways, student loans in 2 months. A group of Democratic senators are calling on President Joe Biden to waive interest, which has been set at a 0% throughout most of the coronavirus pandemic. The move could save millions of dollars a month, even as repayments kick back in. The Biden administration announced in August that an extension of the student loan repayment pause, giving some $42 million borrowers a break, would run through January 31st, 2022. As people continue to struggle with the pandemic, student loan repayment has been on hold since March of 2020, which COVID-19 sent the US into an economic crisis. Keep in mind, we are still in an economic crisis. Okay. Now keep in mind that the crisis with the COVID pandemic really started in, November, December of 2019, hence the name COVID-19. But the first reported cases in the US, was what, January, February, and then it started spreading like wildfire, and it continues with all the different variants, the Omicron, the Delta, the new or the knee, or however you pronounce it. There's all kinds of different variants, and it's still spreading like wildfire because, so many reasons. I'll do a video on that maybe. But anyways, so that all happened, right? Student loan repayments have been on hold since then, okay? But the group of 14 lawmakers want the interest waived through the end of the coronavirus pandemic health emergency, which at this day and age, it's basically been 2 years, right? It's been 2 years of this. How long is the pandemic going to last? It's really based on a lot of different factors, which again, I may do a video on, from my perspective and from facts and data that I've researched. But yeah. So anyways, accumulating student loan interest can be a daunting challenging for borrowers with the lowest incomes or the heaviest student loan debt burdens, which is very true. Let's keep in mind, a lot of people, we were all told, oh, go to college, you're going to make all this money, you're going to be, this is how you become middle class, right? This is how you get a good career, a good paying job, good salary, good wages. You can pay your bills, you can save money, you can take your family on a vacation, you can buy that house. That's what some people wanted. You could do things with your life, right? You could prosper and have upward mobility, right? That's what a lot of us were fed. That was the story. That was what we were told. Okay. Shout out to Morgan Greer. Hey, what's going on? Ruby Parish, and Siren 90, aka 9. Hey, what I missed? You haven't missed much. I just started. And we're talking about the US Senate Democrats pinning their letter urging President Joe Biden to make some changes, some decisions around student loan debt. And information is in the description box below. And as always, please, if you want to drop more information, share your resources and articles, please do. And always do your own investigation and research. Critically thinking is so important, in my opinion. But yeah, welcome. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you. And let's get into it. Again, we were all told that going to college for the most part was going to be our way to middle class and quality, stable financial lives. Yet what ended up happening to many of us, and it isn't just millennials, it's not just Gen X, it's a combination of generations. I mean, Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, these three generations were sandwiched together, right? Right? You got Gen X, millennials, some people call themselves Zennials. Then you've got the Gen Zers, and now we have Gen Alpha coming up, and so forth. And before Gen X was who? The baby boomers, who have been controlling everything for like literally the past 50 plus years. It has been quite wild, hasn't it? Anyways, so, and that's a whole nother video. But we were all told, those three generations specifically, we're all told, how important education was. And then once you start breaking it down, not only just education wise, but you start breaking it down to different demographics of marginalized communities and identities, Black people, people of color, women, LGBT, lower income, impoverished, working class, working poor. When you start breaking it down to smaller and smaller marginalized communities or different marginalized communities, because a lot of times it's not even about them being smaller. A lot of times, case in point, there's more low income people in the USA. There's more working class, working poor, lower income, check to check, impoverished, homeless people than there are rich people, than there are middle class, than there are upper class. So it isn't even about numbers at this point. It's just literally about oppression, because there's more lower income folks in this country than there are wealthy, rich, or even middle class at this point. We're literally seeing the wealth gap and the divide get wider and wider and wider and wider and wider and wider. Meanwhile, people are struggling and suffering, on top of us still being in an ongoing global pandemic. So it is very bizarre what's going on, what's happening, what's been happening. So anyways, the Biden administration announced back in August of this year that an extension of the student loan repayment pause, giving some 42 million borrowers, I'm one of those 42 million borrowers, a break, would run through January 31st, 2022. Now, granted, some of us have been paying every month, regardless of it being in deferment, because there's no interest. So like literally, if you've been paying, or even if you start paying now, the last 2 months, you're paying and it's going directly to your entire principal, the entire loan amount. None of it is being and just switched over to interest. Because before, oh my God, you would be, say for example, say your monthly loan is $200 a month to pay your student loans. How much of that $200 do you think, before deferment, before COVID-19, how much of that $200 was actually going to interest? You'd be surprised. You would have people paying $200 and like 160 of that was going to interest. Only 40 was going to the actual loan. Hence why people will be paying for 10, 20, 30 years and still be in debt and even owe more than what they took out. It's really predatorial and effed up. It's wrong. Point blank, period. Anyways, oh, and then keep in mind the so-called degrees, oh, you're going to make all this money, you're going to be middle management, you're going to be middle class, you're going to have upward mobility. Depending on your degree field, depending on location and so many other factors, that's just not true. A lot of people are sitting up. Look at your teachers. Look at your social workers. Look at the people who work at the nonprofits, people who work in social services. They're not making $30 and $40 and $50 and $60,000 a year, but they owe $30 and $40 and $50 and $60 and hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loans to require the degree to have that position. But yet you're not even paying us. So again, everyone's being ripped off. Hence why people need student loans to be forgiven. Okay. And people need to be paid living wages. Okay. Like we need to stop screwing people over. That's really the gist of all of this. Okay. But anyways, we come back. Cyrene, the introduced, the inducted, and the burden generations. I love that. The introduced, the inducted, and the burden generations. Cyrene 98K9. There is no upper middle class or even lower middle class anymore. I agree. Alan Lewis, hello, Psych Perspective. What's up? What's up, everybody? Thank you all for tuning in. We're talking about the U.S. Senate Democrats urging President Biden to make some choices, some decisions, some actions on student loan forgiveness. And information is in the description box below. And as always, please share your information too, your resources, your articles, and do your own independent investigation and research. But since we're here, you already know, oh my God, land of Ibis, Tranibus, we're doing a lot of things. Things are coming. But let's get back to it. So after all of that propaganda, being told how valuable an education is, and don't get me wrong, education is important. Knowledge is power. It is important. Okay. I'm not saying that it's not. However, I personally do not think people should be going into massive student loan debt for an education. I also don't think people should be paid poverty wages. I think people deserve living wages. I think people deserve education without going into debt, without living in poverty. Okay. I also think people need financial literacy, and we also need to be responsible and accountable. nuances. Things can be true at the same time. Anyways, so that's what was going on. Okay. So then I'm going to go to another article, right? And this is with Representative Elon Omar, leads letter calling on Biden administration to release student loan cancellation memo. Okay, this was October 8th, 2021. Okay, so this was 2 months ago when representative out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, Democrat Representative Elon Omar, in Congress, she's a Congress representative representing Minnesota, led a letter to President Biden, who is a Democrat president, and Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona, who was appointed by a Democrat president, urging the administration to release the memo to determine the extent of the administration's authority to broadly cancel student loan through administrative action. I want to give a huge shout out to one of my good friends, Jordan, because Jordan, you always speak on this, and you're right. Decades ago, Congress voted to authorize the executive branch to cancel federal student loans. Federal student debt can be canceled with the flick of your pen, the members wrote. This authority is already being put to use as it is currently being used to cancel the interest owed on all federally held student loans. Federally held student loans. Now it is time for you to honor your campaign pledge and use this authority to cancel all student loan debt. And I listen, and this is why it's so important that we understand how our current political system is set up. The branches of government, the executive branches, the legislative branches, your federal government, your state government, your local government, the powers, the policies. It's so important that we understand these things and that we share the information, that we share the knowledge, that we educate each other. All right. Because it's again, you have executive power. That's why if you notice the way I worded it, I said, you have your Democratic Congress representative representing Minnesota, along with 13 other U.S. Senate Democrats and other people there in the Democratic Party, are urging the president, who is also a member of the Democratic Party, and the board of the federal Secretary of Board of Education, who was appointed by a Democratic president. Do y'all not see what's going on? That's why people are frustrated with both political parties, because we're literally seeing in our face, y'all have the power to make so many changes that could benefit millions and millions, hundreds of millions, billions of people, really, because this is a global issue. Not just student loans, but the COVID-19 situation with the vaccines, etc. This is a global issue. And again, this country, time and time again, has the power, has the capacity to make monumental changes that could benefit people not only in this country, but could benefit people around the world and globally. But time and time again, we watch this country make decisions and basically do this to everybody. And it's come on. So anyways, back to that article. Information is in the description box below. All right. The resumption of payments on federally held. Keyword here is this has only been in forbearance for federally student loans. So if you got your student loans privately, then guess what? Your interest has still been there. You still have been making payments and forced to make payments. And a lot of times, private student loans, their interest rates are literally double, quadruple that of a federal. So theirs are even worse a lot of times. Again, it's all predatory. A lot of us were 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, young or uninformed and didn't know when we were making these decisions. Again, it's very predatory. You're literally telling someone who either doesn't have financial literacy or lacks financial literacy or is young, literally fresh out of high school, And you're just, oh, sign the dotted line. Oh yeah, we promise you're gonna make all this money. Oh, you're gonna have your degree. You're gonna have this little class. Okay, cool. And then like 5-6 years later, you're graduated and you're paying. You got people that are paying $800 a month in student loan debt, and guess what? They don't have a house. That's not a mortgage payment. That's not a rent payment. They're paying that for their student loans. It's freaking crazy. You got people that have been paying on their student loans since the 80s, since the 90s. We're talking 30, 40 years. Me personally, I've been making payments on my student loans since May of 2014. I graduated with my bachelor's in 2014. It's about to be 2022. It's about to be 8 years. And it's just like, I don't see the end of this, right? It's ridiculous. It's like, did I take out a 15-year or a 30-year term? Like, what the hell? Oh, no, that's right. I didn't buy a house. I just went to college. It's ridiculous. Okay. Cyrene, do you think the debt forgiveness model will be similar to that of the minimum wage increase model? Although established and falsely expressed, the wage model stated an annual increasing matching, that of inflation, for the next few years until $15 an hour is the standard. Do you think they'll adopt the same approach for the debt, little by little annually? The free, a select few until eliminated? I'm gonna be honest. Looking at how our government runs and operates, I feel like it's gonna be exactly how you laid it out, and that's what's again, they have the power to just wipe everybody's, including, at least wipe all of the federal loans and somehow do some policy, some regulation to take care of the private loans too. But Cyrene, I do think it's going to be that way. And again, we need it. And I want to say this too, back to what Cyrene 90 said, aka 9 said, I agree. It's ridiculous. It shouldn't be like, it should just be wiped. It should be done. Finito, right? But we needed $15 an hour in 2008. It's 2021, about to be 2022, and we still in here arguing for $15 an hour. We needed that. We needed that damn near 14 years ago, y'all. Y'all know that's crazy. We needed that a while ago. You think about that. It's nuts that that's how we're living. And by the time $15 come, you probably gonna need 30. You're gonna need 30 an hour. People need that now. It's bad. It's always slow and slow and slow and slow and slow. And it's just like, we are in dire need. We are in dire times. And my thing is, it's a privilege to say that now some of us are realizing, or more of us are realizing, that we're in dire times. Meanwhile, people have been in dire times since day one. Since the beginning. It's ridiculous. It'll make no sense that we can't, mind you, and I'm going to say this. I'm going to give credit where it's due, but it's also about holding elected officials accountable and then also holding myself accountable as well, right? I'm going to say this. Remember back in 2020 when after the whole presidential election in November, and we were still looking, all eyes were on Georgia. Everybody was looking at Georgia because we needed the 2 U.S. Senate seats to be picked up by Georgia. And the whole thing was, oh, if we get them elected, if we get those 2 U.S. senators to flip to be Democratic, we will have more political leverage towards the Democrats in the U.S. Senate, the federal U.S. Senate. And that, remember, that was how we were going to get student loan forgiveness. That was supposed to be the $15 an hour federal minimum wage. That was supposed to be expansion of the Affordable Care Act, expansion of Medicare for all, getting towards universal health care. That was supposed to be the student loan forgiveness. That was supposed to be a lot of things. And then here we are. It's been over a year. It's been a year, basically. It's been a year. Come January, it'll be a full year since they've all been elected to their positions and in their office, okay, and serving. And then keep in mind, people like Biden, again, you've been here for, 5 decades. So it's not like, 50 years. I mean, goodness. And then it's so many of them. They've all been in their same positions for decades. A lot of them have been serving for decades. A lot of them are older than you. A lot of them are older than your parents or your parents' age. Okay, think about it. Your grandparents were young in their 20s when these people were also getting elected. They were in their 20s and 30s, and they're still in office. Y'all see if they wrong. Okay. Anyways, it's just wild. It's wild. I agree. Siren 90 AK9. I agree. So now let's talk about it. The resumption of payments on federally held student loans weighs heavily on tens of millions of borrowers in the U.S. 45 million student debtors collectively owe $1.8 trillion of student loan, a sum almost equivalent to the 1.9 trillion the world's billionaires made in 2019. Think about it. The billionaires made 1.9 trillion. They could literally forgive everybody's shit and be like, all right, we'll make 1.9 trillion or more next year anyways. So, hey, here goes the student loan forgive. They could just do that like that. You feel me? That's still a choice. That's still an option. But they choose never to do it. Or, as of right now, they haven't done it. Ain't it crazy? It's wild, right? This is what we mean by the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, and the wealth gap is just, and like Siren said, there what middle class? You know what I mean? It's pretty much gone. People are either 1%, 2%, extremely wealthy, extremely rich, billionaires, multi-millionaires, or people are living check to check, homeless, don't know when they're going to have the next meal. Okay, working 2 and 3 jobs to still struggle to barely make ends meet. It's ridiculous. And mind you, all of the but you got to do this step. A lot of us followed all of these steps. A lot of people went to school, went to college, went to the military, started working and were working their way up and got screwed. They followed the wrong, they waited to have sex or they waited to have children. So many people have made sacrifices and did what they were supposedly supposed to do. And yet, what happened? And how is it happening to tens of millions of people, millions and hundreds of millions, billions? It can be argued, because again, a lot of these issues are also globally. They're impacting everybody worldwide in various different ways. So anyways, again, while the rich have gotten richer, the economic harm of the pandemic has subsided for ordinary Americans in the USA. Now, just think about, again, it's not just what's going on in the USA. I want to always put an emphasis. It's not just what's going on in the USA, okay? You need to also be looking at what's going on in different countries, on different continents, across the world, globally, all right? Anyways, that's the piece, okay? Let me talk about this. Unemployment insurance has been cut off and millions are living under the threat of eviction. Yes, people are literally facing eviction. Not to mention, there's going to be a lot of foreclosures as well. You're going to see continued economic crisis if we do not finally take care of our people. I'm just going to keep saying that. Remember back in 2008, 2009, we were in the 2008 recession that was brought on by who? Anybody? Bueller. I'm fooling. But 2008 recession that was brought on by Republicans. That's right. Who was in office? Who was the president? Who was in leadership at that time? It was President George W. Bush and Vice President Dick Cheney. So that's what, and then who got elected in November of 2008 and made, history, President Barack Obama and Vice President who? The current president, Joe Biden, who was already there even back in 2008. He had already been there for what, 38 years then? Again, I'm just saying, listen. It's just odd, right? Okay, let me get back into Siren, the freedom of games, LOL, fight for survival. I swear we fight to survive and to merely exist because we damn sure ain't living and thriving. Okay. Alan Lewis, since the pandemic has started, the cost of living is so expensive. Cost of buying things is inflated and the economy is on the verge of collapse. Alan Lewis, cough, cough, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Congress. Shoot. And I'm going to say this. Jay-Z, P. Diddy, Oprah Winfrey. Okay. I'm gonna name them all. Bill Gates. Okay. I'm gonna name them all. Mark Zuckerberg. I'm gonna name them all. So many are just making money, getting bang. Meanwhile, the vast majority sitting up trying to figure out how they gonna keep their lights on, how they gonna keep the heat on, how they gonna keep food on the table. Now they trying to paying car notes, trying to get the car fixed. Do we get the light bill on? Do we get the car fixed? Do we get food? What's going on? People dying. People done lost family members left and right, friends left and right, colleagues, co-workers, community members. People are dying and suffering. And then, like I said, we got Mark. Yeah, we're going to do metaverse. And I'm going to get more money. And y'all still dying. And like you said, the Congress, elected officials across the board between the two parties. Like I said, they getting raises. They getting, again, mind you, we all pay. Keep in mind, all of us are paying taxes in some form or fashion. And all of that, we are paying for them to have their salaries and wages. We are paying for them to have the best quality health care. We are paying for them to have the best retirement plans. Meanwhile, what the hell do we get? What do we get? Poverty, homelessness, death, struggle, hell. That's what we get. But anyways, Siren, thank you for distinguishing between the U.S. and the world. What we're going through now is not new. We've always had racialized unrest, wage gaps, poverty, exclusive education, segregation, etc. Siren, exactly. What's happening right now is not new. Siren said it. You hit it on the nail. It ain't. This has been going on since, like I said, since the beginning. And people, a lot of us have been privileged and blessed to not have to deal with it face to face or deal with as many struggles, but then some of us have had to deal with a lot. Okay. So it's again been going on. Alan Lewis, the way our economy is going, we're going to be in the Great Depression. Is it? My thing is this, if we're being honest, we never got out of the 2008 recession. It just basically has been a continuum of high cost of living, low and stagnant wages. Them wages, them salaries don't really fluctuate or move. I mean, seriously, they still trying to make us excited because somebody is talking about $15 an hour, knowing damn well. For case in point, people want $1,000 and up for rent. For rent, whether you're renting an apartment, a townhouse, a condo, a regular house, a trailer, a mobile home, a manufactured home. People want $1,000 and up for rent. What in the hell is $15 an hour gonna do? Now, don't get me wrong. It's better than fucking excuse me, I shouldn't have said. It's better than $7.25 an hour, obviously. Okay. It's double that. It's double that and 50 cents. It's, you know what I mean? So it's better than that, okay? It should be, at least to me, it should be a living wage. It should be a living wage. And we need rent control. Because a lot of places, like I said, they want $1,000 and up for rent. And a lot of these property management companies and some of the private landlords are requiring you to make 3 times the rent. Well, shit, if you're a rent, case in point, if say yo, I'm gonna do an example right here. Say your rent is $1,200 a month. $1,200 a month. And you got property management companies and some private landlords are requiring people to make 3 times the rent, 3 times the monthly rent. Your rent is $1,200. So 3 times 1,200 is $3,600. That means this is what you need to make per month to live there in order for you to be eligible, in order for you to be qualified to live at that place. I'm in Michigan. They want you to make 36 to live at the $1,200 a month apartment or house or condo, wherever you're renting. That's the rent. Keep in mind, you don't own it. You don't own it. Now, mind you, that's $3,600. Is this before or after taxes? Because they ain't telling you that, right? Because we all know we getting our asses taxed every other switch away. You paying federal taxes, state taxes, your city, your municipality, your township, you know, your village. You're paying taxes. You're paying sales taxes. You're paying gas taxes. You're paying taxes. Sales tax. There's taxes on everything. You know, a lot of times you're being taxed all over the place. All right. Now, keep in mind, we make far less than what the millionaires and the billionaires and the soon-to-be trillionaires are making. Yet they don't pay nearly the amount of taxes that we pay, and we make far less than them. Y'all don't see the problem with that, though. Okay. Okay. Let me read. Siren. But now the resources are tapped, gone, no moss. And debts are being collected. The model of America's foundation is not sustainable anymore. Agreed. In my humble opinion, capitalism, or at least the current version of capitalism that's always been in place in this country, is not sustainable. It never was, in my opinion. Sorry, I was trying to combine my comments. Okay, that's cool. Rhonda Marge Vass.tech. Okay, I don't know what everyone's saying. Anyways, Siren, I think that's why marriage is also pushed in the media. It's survival. Exactly. It's about survival. It's a business contract, which is why when you think about it, when you see people talking about high value or women, you know, women and feminine people specifically wanting to marry up, and yes, men and masculine people do the same thing. Of course, you want to marry up, marry somebody either on your level or above you, because it's about survival. It's a business contract. Under this current version of capitalism, under capitalism in this country, it's a business contract. And like you said, it's about survival. You can't be marrying somebody or entering any relationship in this day and age that isn't about on the same level as you, if it's about being, you know, financially responsible, you hardworking, you know, dependable. You can't, because if you don't, you're going to be dating or marrying a liability that's going to hold you back. Like, I'm just being real. It's going to make it difficult for you. You feel me? Yep, it's survival, and that's the American way. It's sad. You ain't lying. Moonshot. Republicans will block everything for middle to lower class, but they'll happily pass tax cuts and more for the top 10%. If we don't stand together and let Democrats keep one house, we're screwed. Moonshot, I do get what you're saying. Again, because again, it's sad because, like you said, it's like we're forced in many ways, again, to play this chestnut checker shit. Like, we always have to be strategic. And it's ridiculous because again, we shouldn't have to do that. But I get I do agree, and I get where you're coming from. And I thank you for sharing your perspective and that particular perspective. I appreciate that. Wow, it's wild out here, y'all. So again, I'm gonna list some of the Democrats here. 5 Senate Democrats. This is back in 2020, right? October 29th, 2020. 5 Senate Democrats pushed DeVos at the time. Betsy DeVos was our former federal Secretary of Education, Secretary of the Board of Education. You know, she was appointed by Republican President who? Donald J. Trump. Okay. And this was last year, okay, when they were still in. Okay. So, anyways, on debt relief following student defense report, Washington, D.C., U.S. Senators Dick Durbin, Democrat representing Illinois. Patty Murray, Democrat representing the state of Washington. Richard Blumenthal, Democrat representing the state of Connecticut. Democrat Elizabeth Warren representing the state of Massachusetts. And Democrat Sherrod Brown representing the Democrat representing the state of Ohio. And this was in 2020, okay, October 29th, okay? Sent a letter calling on Secretary of Education then, who was a Republican, Betsy DeVos. So you got to ask yourself, this is why I keep saying this, follow me here. You have to ask yourself, that made sense, and it still makes sense. Continue to advocate. Thank you for continuing. But I thought we elected Joe Biden. We elected Vice President Harris. We elected, and Joe Biden appointed a Democratic federal Secretary of the Board of Education. Why are we having these conversations? Why is this still a problem? This is why people are frustrated. This is why people are upset, because it's like you're toying and playing with people. And this is just one of the many things that they're toying and playing with, because, like, again, both Democrats and Republicans, all of these elected officials know healthcare is an issue. Student loan is an issue. Living wages, poverty is an issue. You know, lack of resources is an issue. People know these things. That's why they're elected. That's why they run and they do their campaigns. So it's not like they don't know. And again, all of these Senate letters are available, and links to this is in the description box below. And you know what? I'm going to also pin these in the comments, because, or at least put them in the comments, because this is so you can see what the Senate Democrats are saying. And I'm going to share the one from 2020 as well, so you can see, because, and I'm going to make sure that this is also in the description box too, because people need to see. So let's read some of it, because it's already 43 minutes in, and I'm going to try to end this in a few. I don't want it to be too long. I'm going to try to read some of y'all's stuff before I get into it. Siren, I'm not against the concept of forever union or romantic love. I want both of those things. But seriously, people are marrying and unhappy because, hello, yes, you're marrying for survival. You end up with people that you don't like, that's abusive, that's violent, all kinds of things. Also, you can survive under this system of oppression. It's really just janky, and it doesn't have to be that way. Anyways, Alan Lewis, I had a bad feeling about the 2024 election and the way our country is going with all these new voting suppressing laws and racialized voting gerrymandering. Yup. That's why I'm like, I don't know what's to come. I do know that things seem really dire, and they are dire. And looking how things are going, it's going to continue to be effed up. You know, but I hope and pray. I'm hoping and pushing. I'm working and doing me and being accountable and doing what I can, and hoping and praying that others do what they can and should do, so we don't have to be like this. But it's like you said, it's looking effed up. Let's just keep it real. Okay, but I'm gonna read a little bit of this. This is the letter that they penned. This was back in June. Hold on, because I got a few different ones. Oh, let me make sure. Okay, I got one from June 23rd, 2021. And I also have one from today, December 8th. I'm just going to read a little bit of it. And all of this will be in the description box below. Okay, so this was December 8th, 2021, today, okay? Dear President Biden, this is 9 pages, so I'm not going to read the whole thing on camera, but you should, or not going to tell you to read it, but not on camera, but look it up for yourself. You know, the information's there. I'm going to read some of it. Dear President Biden, we write to bring to you attention. Oh, I should do it like this because, this looks so much better when you read it like that, you know. Okay, anyways. We have received about the impact of the resumption of the federal student loans payment February 2022. A new analysis prepared at our request by experts from the Roosevelt Institute found that the resumption of the federal student loan payments, which is scheduled to occur in 55 days from today, when the coronavirus disease 2019 COVID-19 payment moratorium ends, will strip more than $85 billion from approximately 18 million American families over the next year. In order to prevent the student debt crisis from dragging down because that's right, y'all don't understand. Remember the housing crisis again in 2008 again, which was fostered in by President Bush and Vice President Dick Cheney, and then Obama and Biden were elected, and they basically spent their whole first term giving bailouts to the banks and to the big 3 auto companies, GM, Chrysler. You know, remember all that? Yeah. And remember when the CEOs, just like now, were getting bonuses and then going to beg Congress for money to bail out the company, but yet they gave themselves bonuses and then they were flying in freaking private jets to beg but then everyday people were getting foreclosed and losing their homes. People were losing their entire wealth, houses and money. And then mind you, even before then, people were living in poverty and struggling. Everyday people never seem to be able to get the bailouts that the rich and the wealthy and the corporations get, even though we're the ones paying and working to maintain the rich and the wealthy and the corporations, because it damn sure ain't working to maintain us. But anyways, we seem to never be able to benefit, right? It's just wild. Shouldn't have to be that way. But anyways, we'll read a little bit more of this. Oh my God. I'll have it up and then I'll lose it. I had it saved in my files. Okay, anyways, here we go. All right. In order to prevent the student loan debt crisis from dragging down on our economic recovery, undermining the effectiveness of the American Rescue Plan, and causing unnecessary pain and stress for American families, we strongly urge you to extend the pause on student loan debt payments and interest and act to cancel student debt. Prior to the COVID-19 payment, student loan borrowers paid an average of $393 per month towards student loans. You want to know something? I was paying $412 a month. And I literally watched my payments go up, up, up because I didn't initially know about income-based driven plans. So I was just paying an accelerated plan. So like, I remember before, like I graduated May of 2014. So I started paying like $50 to $100 a month because I had, when with federal student loans, you have like a 6-month grace period from your graduation where you don't even have to pay. So I was like, oh, well, I'll just start paying now because I thought I'm being smart. Put $50 to $100 a month. Boy, did I get okay. And then I was dumb because I also decided to go back to get my master's, and like, what in the hell? I mean, again, the education is powerful. The knowledge is powerful. It's important. It's greatly needed, but the debt, and then the income that I'm like, no. And that's just my experience. Okay. But the average is 393 on average a month per person with student loans is paying. Money that could not be spent on their families, other needs, such as food, shelter, buying a home, being able, just buying anything, buying food, buying clothes, so many things we are unable to do properly because so much of our money is going to debt. Think about that. Whether that's your student loans, your credit cards, your medical debt, you name it. Okay. I got loans, pain, suffering, you name it. It's sad out here. Anyways. Okay. These payments hurt individuals, families, and the economy as a whole and will have a significant negative effect if the administration ends the payment pause as scheduled. According to the Roosevelt Institute analysis, the retained income from the student loan payment pause directly improved the economic security of borrowers and injected necessary consumer spending across communities. Yeah, because on average, it was an extra $393. For me, it was an extra $412. But I still have been making payments. I just haven't been paying $412. I've been doing other things. I've been able to take care of things that I would have never been able to take care of, really, if I would have continued to have to pay $412. And mind you, that was $412. A lot of that was getting ate up by interest. I mean, think about it. You would think if I'm paying $412 a month, I should be getting out of here, right? Child interest. What's going to the principal, y'all? Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. It's been crazy. Anyway. Directly improved economic security of borrowers, injected necessary consumer spending across communities during the pandemic, complementing the monetary and fiscal policies intended to prevent the American economy from slipping into an unnecessarily long recession. I just think they use recession to replace depression because it's like we're always in a recession. If you are a millennial, you literally have been living in a recession for at least 15 years of your life, which for many of us is half or nearly half of our lives. For me, it's over half of my life. I mean, literally, by the time the 2000s came, we literally watched gas prices just since the late 90s, early 2000s till on, right? Like, it's just always been an economic downpour, one after the other. So it's just like, there's so many generations where it's just like Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, like what economic prosperity have we seen collectively, generational wise? Ask yourself that. Love JJ1814. What's going on? What's going on? These rich folks are laughing at us regular everyday folks. This system was not meant to ball out the everyday worker. It was made to make sure the system does not crumble and that those who are in power remain. That's debate. The 6-month grace period, you ain't lying. It's just letting you know they will get their money eventually, but you still have to pay. You ain't lying. You ain't lying. It really is. It's sad because and mind you, student loans, you can't file bankruptcy on. Ain't no chapter 7. Ain't no chapter 11. Ain't no chapter 13. Ain't shit for you. You owe them boys. And then they wonder why Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, why nobody is buying houses or why people are struggling to own a home, start a family if they want to. Why everything is on hold. Because people are living check to check, being paid poverty wages, in student loan debt and credit card debt and medical debt, struggling and dying. And you sitting there blaming it, right? And it's like, come on. You know, you got the power. I got the power. Well, you got the power to make changes, to change people's lives. And every day, these people make decisions to not do it. It is just, it's like, why? Why? You know what I mean? Love JJ 1814. I know folks who keep going back to school to prolong the facts, they will eventually have to pay back the loan. It's sad. This is true because when you go back, you're in deferment. Now, keep in mind, interest is still collecting, though. That's the sad part. Interest is still collecting, even when you're at least when they go back, it still accrues, you know. And that's another thing. You sit back and you look at your student loans, and like the interest will accrue every 10 days. So, like every 10 days, they're adding on interest. And you think it's a month. You pay once a month typically. And there's typically 30 days in a month. So, you know, and you think about that. So 3 times a month you have interest accruing. And then they wonder why nobody can get out of debt. And then they pay you poverty pay. You know, you're like I said, in the state of Michigan, January 2022, it'll be $9.57 an hour for Michigan's minimum wage. The federal minimum wage is $7.25. It hasn't been increased since 2009. It is going to be 2022. I owe $48,000 worth of student loan debt, and I work, my current job pays me $40,000 a year before taxes. After taxes, I make $31,000. How am I supposed to pay $48,000 back, take care of myself, pay other bills, help my family, provide for my family? Like, and that's just my personal experience. Now think about everybody else. Everybody is struggling. Everybody has their own stories, their own problems. This is a collective issue. And this is one of the many, many collective issues. Love JJ, exactly, interest. So you make less than the loan, you have to pay back. That's America. You ain't lying. That's what I'm saying. It's a scam. It's like, what is this? This is why everybody is so apathetic and just like, we're tired. We're frustrated because a lot of us, we did, and I'm including myself in this, a lot of us did buy into the American dream. It's a fucking nightmare. It's a lie. It's a facade. It's bullshit. It's red, white, and blue bullshit. You know, we really thought, oh, if I follow the orders and I do what they tell me to do and I do this and I do that, and, you know, I make sacrifices continuously. I pull myself up from my bootstraps, even though I didn't have fucking boots to begin with. You know, even though you're constantly, it's a struggle, okay? Again, information is in the description box below, y'all. It's already about to be an hour. I was gonna read more, but I'm gonna leave the information in the description box below so you can get to it. We deserve better, and I hope you all take the time to read the U.S. Senate Democrats' letters. Also, take the time to look at what both political parties are doing. You know, look at your U.S. senators, look at your U.S. Congress folks, look at your state senators, your state House and representatives, your local elected officials, your mayors, your city councils, your trustees, your local board of education, you know, or who's on the school board. Look at all of these things, right? Investigate, research, critically think. And thank you, Love JJ. I really appreciate you and your support. I thank you all for tuning in tonight. Please be safe. I know you have free will and autonomy, but here are some recommendations. I recommend you wear your mask. You continue washing your hands frequently, at least 20 seconds. Scrub a dub, get the wrists. get your fingernails. I also recommend getting the vaccine. But again, you're going to do what you want to do. I also recommend drinking water, eating fruits and veggies, taking your vitamins, getting your sleep. It's a lot of things that we can do to help prolong our lives and help keep people safe in our families, in our communities, in our, in our friendships, people in general. But anyways, I'm about to head out. Actually, what both political parties are not doing exactly. And Siren, thank you for going live. It's great to see you, and thank you for bringing this info and topic up. It's worth discussing. Cheers. Cheers, for real. And thank you for tuning in and dropping your perspectives. Thank you all. I mean, when I do the lives, that's what I'm trying to gear to, is to have a conversation with people, and we are able to share information and resources among each other. And you're right. Cheers. Cheers. Y'all be safe. Happy holidays. Sending love, sending positive energy. And I'm out. I'll see y'all later.